and you think that they just had a strawberry milkshake, and yet they are killing themselves. So those are the things that we are being invited to be able to debate and agree on how we are going to save the younger generation from being sick, from their lungs collapsing. Mr. Speaker, the good senator has raised one very important point in terms of, taxation. And this is an issue that we were agonizing on, because when we start talking about taxation, then we start discussing issues to do with money bills, which we know that the Senate, under Article 114 of our Constitution, it's sort of like in the borderline in terms of the origination of the money bills. It has to be from the lower house. But she talks about a very important thing which all of us must look into in this bill, so that by the time we go into the third reading of this bill, or the committee of the whole, the amendments that will be brought are amendments that will be able to enrich the bill, will be able to put up strict regulations, because it is imperative that all the taxes that are collected from the tobacco industry, either today they go to SHA, some of the money go to SHA, so that when you are taken to the hospital with your lungs having collapsed because of being a chain smoker, there will be money to pay for you, and that can come from there. Number two, Mr. Speaker, we discussed the issue of approval and testing. We agreed that it is important that we divide those two. Let the ministry approve, let KEBS test, so that we know whether what the kids are smoking is proper, and they set proper standards. Because I see my time is running up, let me reiterate that one of the things that, Senator Moma, we need to tighten is on strict regulations of the tobacco industry in this country. We must tighten strict regulations. We must make sure that, in fact, for me, I'm of the opinion that we increased the age of smoking from 18 to 21, such that if you are 21 years old, is the only time that you can be allowed to buy a cigarette. Number two, Mr. Speaker, advertising, it is important. Yesterday, when we were sitting in the committee, I remember the argument that we had with the majority leader in this House when we were discussing the gambling bill, in terms of how can you restrict online advertisement in cigarettes, in terms of allowing advertisement, restricting advertisement. That is something that distinguished senators, we have to agree on. And in my view, I still feel that warnings are better than trying to say there is no online advertisement. Because when you say there is no online advertisement, there will be IP addresses from all over the world. You cannot stop them. And the youth will still be able to get into. So we need, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I think it is important to be able to balance the economic concerns as well as the health concerns. It is imperative to be able to focus a lot on preventive rather than curatives. That is the only way that we can be able to develop legislation that can help, this population. So, Mr. Speaker, as I end, I would love to see a country where we are less population smoke. And in fact, Senator Moma would say that in Kenya has almost adapted to an environment where people don't smoke as much. If you go to Europe, everyone almost smokes. So we cannot compare the laws in Europe and the laws here. We have to say we are going to be completely unorthodox when it comes to legislation making, and look at what fits this economy, what fits this population. I'd love to say no advertisement. Let's ban advertisement. I'd love to say, let's stop smoking. In fact, my dear sister, Senator Veronica, yesterday was saying she wished that she was seconding a bill that will ban smoking in this country. That is not the reality. It can never happen. So because people will smoke, let us figure out how do we balance these economic concerns, because it's about money. In fact, what I would even propose is that when it comes to growing of tobacco in this country, it should be zoned to a particular region. when you zone it in that particular region, you'll know it's only that area which people will be able to smoke. One of the last things that the ministry was proposing in their submissions during public participation was amending the bill to make sure that the bill controls both substances with nicotine and those without nicotine. And for those who understand that marijuana does not have nicotine, I think the ministry was also getting into that area of saying that we now come up with one bill to control everything to do with anything that, any delivery system of nicotine and non-nicotine substances. So as I conclude, let me thank the good senator, but I want us to be realistic in terms of balancing the economic needs of this country versus the health of the population. Yes, tobacco kills, but can we run away from saying that we will now force every citizen of this country not to smoke? Let us be realistic that some will smoke. So stricter regulations, let us tax, and all that money, in my proposal, Mr. Speaker, sir, should go to SHA so that it treats those people. Very little should be left to preventive. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill by Senator Catherine Muma, the Tobacco Control Amendment Bill 2024, a very important piece of legislation by our colleague, Senator Catherine Muma. This is for the history books, Mr. Speaker, like I had mentioned earlier, that should our colleague succeed to steer this bill through this House and subsequently to the counterpart House and provide clean, neat, and efficient coordination on the delivery, sale, manufacture, production of these products, Mr. Speaker, then she will have actually ticked the box, Mr. Speaker, in terms of being active legislators who are reacting actually to the demands of society as they arise. Because there are many challenges, Mr. Speaker, that come this day, which unfortunately as legislators, we sometimes don't react to. I know very little about smoking, Mr. Speaker, but I am a lawmaker. In fact, I must confess, Mr. Speaker, that I grew up at the time where raising a child was by the community. And therefore, one time as a 14-year-old had come the way of 5 Kenya shillings, Mr. Speaker. I went to a shop and bought a bar of cigarette. It was around 7:30 p.m. And I wanted to be cheeky just like any other teenager. No sooner had I lit it, Mr. Speaker, than a thunder of a slap fell on me from one of the neighborhood's elderly men. That up to date, Mr. Speaker, when I see somebody smoke, my cheeks twitch a bit, Mr. Speaker, when I recall that hard slap from that gentleman. And I have never tried again in my life. But I know, Senator Muma, that I'm a lawmaker, and we must do laws for those that smoke and those that don't. That the people who send me to this house to pass law, Mr. Speaker, should not ordinarily fit into my taste and preferences. I must do law for them, including those that I do not agree with, and the things that perhaps I may not like. And this is why I find this piece of legislation from you to be quite ingenious of a legislator. I know Senator Muma is passionate about this topic, Mr. Speaker, because it's been more than a year, actually, that she has been hunting me on this bill and saying, please help me, we need to conclude on this issue. Are you not concerned? And she keeps on reminding me that you may not see it as a problem right now because your kids are way younger. But remember, in another 10 years, you may not have a luxury. You don't want to look back and say, I wish I had done something about it. Because the truth of the matter, Mr. Speaker, is that there's actually drugs and substance that is finding its way into the hands of our children and society, Mr. Speaker, in the form of e-cigarettes because of the lack of proper regulatory framework to govern that particular space, Mr. Speaker. And I like the fact that Senator Muma is very specific on this bill, that actually it's nicotine-related substance, including e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. These very cool things that young people carry in their handbags, Mr. Speaker, in their pockets, which ordinarily you may not even easily recognize to be a substance that can harm their health, Mr. Speaker. And they take it in a very nice, easy, and relaxed way in public fora, Mr. Speaker, in places where ideally, actually, they shouldn't be taking them. You know that smoking in this country, Mr. Speaker, is restricted to particular zones, Mr. Speaker, away from public spaces, Mr. Speaker. And that law is one of the most successfully implemented legislations as part and parcel of what Parliament does. I think that law was passed in 2007. And you remember the hue and cry that was around this town. Because previously, back in the day, if you recall, people would walk about smoking and doing whatever they want, even in the streets of Nairobi, Nakuru, whichever parts of the country, and they'll blow the fumes into your face until somebody, just another legislator like what Senator Muma is trying to do, Mr. Speaker, thought about it and said, wait a minute, this is not right. You cannot be puffing out fumes in a public transport vehicle, Mr. Speaker, in a library, in a shopping center, where there are young children, there are elderly people, there are people with health challenges, and they decided to restrict that particular space. And since then, up to date, that law is respected and applied in very strict consideration, Mr. Speaker, together with the fines. And I like that about work that has been done in this House, Mr. Speaker. You know, many times people speak and forget that Parliament, as an institution, has actually passed very progressive legislation over the years. It's only that on occasions where people disagree for whatever reason on a particular topic, Mr. Speaker, that they cast Parliament in very bad light and say, oh, it's the weakest link in our democracy and things like that. Yet I know so many spheres of our society that Parliament has actually successfully been able, Mr. Speaker, to give us legislation and good laws that have enabled us, Mr. Speaker, to live in a better country. That is just one such example. And therefore, I like this bill together with the provisions, Mr. Speaker, with the definitions actually that are being either altered, deleted, or added into the previous Tobacco Act, Control Act of 2007, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate that Senator Muma actually expands the definition of what are tobacco products. That's very important, because in a litigious country like ours, where judges sometimes make certain decisions, and when you try to reflect back on it, you say, even if the language might have been a challenge, surely, was that the spirit and the object of what Parliament or the lawmakers intended? Because, Mr. Speaker, we've had arguments, including even on whether should have been an AM or a PM, while when you're reading that particular legislation, you can flow through and notice actually what was the intention of the House. And there are many times, I know in the Senate we may not have dealt with this, but I know there are many times actually that National Assembly, for example, especially in matters of tax, have been asked to provide more clearer definition, Mr. Speaker, on certain legislations that have been passed. And on account of that, people have gone to court, Mr. Speaker, to challenge the intention of the House. Even on an issue as simple as a date, a law that has been signed, Mr. Speaker, in January, then somehow, Mr. Speaker, in the reading and in the interpretation, maybe the fine print of the definition wasn't so meticulous. And you find that there's a way you can read it, Mr. Speaker, that will reflect to times gone by instead of times that are ahead, Mr. Speaker. And the courts have agreed with the petitioners. Therefore, this is important, the expansion of definition. And this is something, Mr. Speaker, that I want even our legislative drafting department to be keen about it. That nowadays, Mr. Speaker, given the country that we live in, definitions are extremely important. And it's important to expand, Mr. Speaker, and appreciate that in a country such as ours, we can lose very good intentions such as this bill, Senator Muma, on account of just a definition. I say that to make the point, Mr. Speaker, that it is not for lack of work to do, but it is out of the abundance of caution that actually these new phrases are being introduced into our bills where you're expanding the definition. Ideally, somebody will think and say, everybody knows that nicotine is a tobacco product, or things such as those. But on many occasions, until you provide it in black and white, as has been done in this bill, which include tobacco leaves and extracts, you know, Mr. Speaker, that you have to define even and say even the extracts alone is important, including actually synthetic formations, which is a substance such as what Senator Ledama was showing. Otherwise, somebody will easily argue and say that this is just an extract. It doesn't contain those things that you speak about. Additives also, Mr. Speaker, it's important because there can be argument about that what is a dominant product in this item. In fact, many of these vapes and the things that you're talking about, Senator Muma, 80% are actually non-harmful substance. It's just a cool smoke. I don't know how they are able to generate it. And the nicotine substance is a very small element or percentage of it. That's why it's very popular with young people. It is important the way you're including actually additives that may be added, which means a substance other than tobacco that is added to a tobacco product unit packet, including flavors that are being defined, Mr. Speaker. There is definition also of the electronic cigarette, what it could mean, because it need not be, and I like part B of this drafting, that it is not a medical substance or medical device as defined in Pharmacy and Poisons Act. Why is this important, Senator Muma? Because the provisions of this act have previously been abused by people who consider that these are devices that are health devices. In the administration of tax, Senator Muma, even on tax alone, definitions are very important, because when determining the coding for where an instrument will fall under, Mr. Speaker, it depends on what Parliament defined it as. Many of these devices can easily pass as medical devices, Mr. Speaker, if the clarity is not provided as is being done in this particular law. There are people who import, and they import it alongside other medical substances. And when they are packaged in whatever country of origin, Mr. Speaker, a simple collusion between the exporting country and the agencies here locally would easily pass some of these items alongside other medical devices, Mr. Speaker, and causing more harm or denying even the country revenue that will have been realized, Mr. Speaker, from the sale of this substance. There are more details that are provided deep down into the bill, Mr. Speaker, including manufacture or place, clause 14 particularly, Mr. Speaker, where the Principal Act is being, actually clause 14 of the Principal Act, which is being amended by clause 7 of the bill, Mr. Speaker, where a person shall not manufacture or place on the market, sale and distribution or use of electronic nicotine delivery system or refill container uses unless the conditions are being provided. The nicotine containing liquid is contained in a dedicated refill container not exceeding volume of 10 millimeters in a disposable electronic cigarette or in a single-use cartridge, and that the cartridges or tank does not exceed the volume of 2 milliliters, actually, not millimeters, milliliters. Then B, the nicotine containing liquid does not contain nicotine exceeding 10 milligrams per millimeter. There is need, Senator Catherine, the way that word is drafted. Remember what I mentioned earlier about fluency in legislation. The way that word is written, somebody will easily confuse and think that it is one word. Yet I know for a fact that it is milligrams per millimeter. Yet the way it's written, you would easily confuse and think it's 2 words instead of 3. I have earlier spoken to, I need not repeat myself, on the need for us as a legislature to ensure that we actually provide clarity in all these bills. Otherwise, people can go to court and what is it that Kenyan judiciary cannot do, Mr. Speaker. If they have invented something called, what is it called? This one where if you're anticipating arrest, it's called an anticipatory bail. I'm struggling to recall other parts of the world that dishes them out so voluntarily. That if you know that you have committed a crime and you suspect that they may come for you, Mr. Speaker, you go and get it, and it's granted like ice cream, Mr. Speaker. I don't know about it, but just warning that we have to be careful about a particular thing. There is part B of that clause 14, which speaks to an area which will be of concern to all the young legislators that are here, on the nicotine pouches, Mr. Speaker, that in the way they are made, those pouches should be child and tamper-proof and can be used without spilling their contents. Because the fancy way in which some of these pouches are made, Mr. Speaker, a kid, even walking with a father into a supermarket, Mr. Speaker, can easily pick them out and confuse them for a sweet or a lollipop, Mr. Speaker, if this is not properly defined. That the access to this content that is inside these pouches, Mr. Speaker, should be so difficult that a kid will struggle to actually access it. Otherwise, if it is just easy to access it, Mr. Speaker, and I hope, Senator Muma, that the health department, when approving the containers or these pouches where these substances are sold, will take that into consideration, considering and knowing full well, Mr. Speaker, that these are things that can be very harmful to children. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, Senator Muma, you did not mention, or perhaps maybe it's further down in the bill, and I may have missed it somewhere, into what changes you may want to bring into the Tobacco Control Board. Because that institution, if you remember when the Cabinet Secretary for Health was last here responding to question time before the Senate, I think it was Senator Manzo who had asked something on the administration of funds in the Tobacco Control Fund, in that tobacco fund, Mr. Speaker. And there were not very good vibes that were coming out of that particular statement. In fact, the minister said on the record of this House, and not just an ordinary minister, a minister who served as majority leader for 8 years. So he knew what he was saying. He said, I'm not satisfied with the answer that has been provided. This statement was prepared for me, and I only got to see it this morning. I will be unfair to you as a House if I just read through. Give me time to come back with a more comprehensive answer. I found that to be quite telling, Mr. Speaker, because when a minister raises alarm on how certain funds are being used, Senator Muma, perhaps at the committee of the whole, we may want to tie up that particular institution and ensure that those funds are actually used for the purpose for which it was meant. These businesses of creating a fund where you're only enriching a few fat cats at ministries, Mr. Speaker, who go for seminars across the world from this one to the other without implementing a single item of the things that they run from these conferences must come to an end. We must put a capping on any of these fundings, particularly sink funds like this one of the tobacco, where monies are realized from a particular product and they need to be used to either respond to the health challenges that arise from the use of that particular product, Mr. Speaker, or to teach citizens on the benefits or otherwise of this product, Mr. Speaker, then that is what it needs to be doing. It cannot be, Mr. Speaker, that you have a fund where if you check what has been their contribution into improving the livelihoods of citizens, Mr. Speaker, it's all about conferences and trips for those that have access to these funds, Mr. Speaker. You need to put a capping, Mr. Speaker. 85%. I've always spoken of the genius of CDF and why CDF continues, and I say this fully aware of the matters that are before us, why it continues to be a darling of the citizens in terms of any public funds, Mr. Speaker. It is because of the capping that has been provided on how much you can use on administrative issues. 2.75% maximum. The rest, over 95%, actual work that can be demonstrated to citizens and says, these are your funds. If we don't have any better use of those resources, take it to the critical illness fund that we created under SHA. Because in any case, at the end of the day, many of the users of this product will eventually burden our public health infrastructure. Therefore, there is no harm, Mr. Speaker, putting those funds into public utility. But to be used, Mr. Speaker, to do the kind of things that I heard Senator Manzo say on that particular fund puts to question so many other things, Mr. Speaker. And I hope when Cabinet Secretary Duale returns to this House, he will remember to bring us that response, because while we are actively considering this bill, Mr. Speaker, that is an item that need not disappear to us. I know even other things, colleagues, that in that institution, because they license, and Senator Muma, why we must rejig that institution, is that sometimes it is used to fight corporate wars. where when an entity wants to take domination of a particular product line, they use officers from that agency to either ban or frustrate the growth of their competitors, Mr. Speaker. And that case, or that incident has been recorded on so many occasions, Mr. Speaker, before us, in the media circles, and this is something that should be of concern to us. And therefore, I hope, Mr. Speaker, that because I know we will get the chance to consider all these things, we will reflect on how to administer that particular fund in this space in a better and neater way. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support and hope that we can improve on this legislation to make it better. I thank you.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute on the Tobacco Control Amendment Bill 2024. And from the onset, to congratulate Senator Muma, who serves as a member of Speaker's panel. This is a critical. Mr. Speaker, legislation is a moving target. If you have watched a movie called Moving Target or Hard Target, one of the leading lights in that movie, Mr. Speaker, is trying to get a perfect shot, but it gets moving. So in 2007, when our colleague, distinguished members of parliament, and I don't know, Mr. Speaker, you were serving then or not, because I was still fairly young then, that when they legislated, the challenge then was smoking in public and whether public places could be considered to be smoking. So, Speaker, with the advance of technology, you have to appreciate that going into the future, we'll keep legislating on matters of technology because these electronic cigarettes, e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, I remember when I traveled to the US a few years ago, I was honored to have dinner with one of the senior leaders in this country. And apparently, as we were having chit-chat, that senior leader continued smoking the e-cigarette, and we didn't realize until the smoke was coming out of his nostrils or the mouth. Then we realized, we asked a friend of mine, what is this? I think we were in the famous Manhattan Street in downtown of United Nations Street, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I don't want to name names, but of course, that person smoked, and we didn't find it odd because it was an e-cigarette. The only time we noticed is because of the flavor that was coming out, Mr. Speaker, and we became discomfort after some time. But I think I was also in the wrong company, Mr. Speaker, because a number of us were consuming hard substances that was not definitely soda or water or milk or juice, Mr. Speaker. And after that, when I went back to my hotel room in New Jersey, I had to do serious prayers via phone with my pastor for cleansing after being in that session, which I found it unholy and unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. Well, personally, Mr. Speaker, I've never smoked in my life, and I don't think I will, because of my strict upbringing and religious background, Mr. Speaker, is we have to do what we have to do. There are people who smoke, there are others who don't smoke. But my argument, Mr. Speaker, has been this, that where your right ends, my right also begins. And I think as we legislate, we want to bring decency, discipline within the public forum, Mr. Speaker. We can't legislate on alcoholism, the issue of cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, but I want to appeal and call upon parents that we cannot legislate morals, Mr. Speaker, you are aware. Sometimes values and discipline are instilled by the parents. So even as we legislate, we can't legislate values, we can't legislate discipline, we can't legislate morals, Mr. Speaker. So it behooves us as leaders, as parents, to always be on the lookout so that we don't need to legislate on each and everything, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on this, the e-cigarette, this issue of definition has been given very well. I remember, Mr. Speaker, there was a hue and cry of the consumption of shisha, Mr. Speaker, where people were consuming in public places, and I'm happy the Ministry of Health has given regulation on smoking of shisha, Mr. Speaker. And you know, one funny thing with these people who are taking hard substance, be it cocaine, nicotine, alcohol, smoking cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, few years down the line, they will start a M-Pesa pay bill because of lung cancer, Mr. Speaker, and they want to travel to India to receive treatment, Mr. Speaker. So even as we legislate on how to enable people who smoke or drink alcohol or use other hard substances, Mr. Speaker, they should also be sure that the same individuals will burden to 80% the health infrastructure and service in this country, Mr. Speaker. Because after some years, they will get sick because of throat cancer, lung cancer, Mr. Speaker, and after some years, they will go to online and start fundraising through M-Pesa and other platforms of online fundraising, even individual fundraising, because of lack and abuse of e-cigarettes and other. Mr. Speaker, I am in agreement with National Control Against Drug Abuse, NACADA, that the consumption age of alcohol in this country should be raised to 21 years. Mr. Speaker, I also propose, and I know the mover of the owner of the bill in courts should consider that the smoking of e-cigarettes or any other form of smoking, including shisha, should be raised to 21 years, as has been proposed by NACADA, Mr. Speaker, so that we can have a society that is well-structured, a society that is this. I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, noting the fact that this week we have a number of schools who are your guests, who are attending most of these sessions, that we should raise the minimum age of consumption of alcohol and drug abuse or the consumption of e-cigarettes to 21 years, Mr. Speaker. Even, Mr. Speaker, I know there were people that were proposing that the consent of sex should be reduced to 16 years, like some European countries, but also we should raise it to 21 years instead of 18 years, so that we can arrest children marriage, Mr. Speaker, another form of abuse. And I think the Sexual Offences Act, the intent, Mr. Speaker, so that the country can know, is to protect our future generations. It doesn't make sense when you are no longer there for the future of this country in most of the young people. Mr. Speaker, and therefore the definition and vapor and the product, I agree, we need to be careful. When I was growing up, somebody who used to smoke, you could tell them from maybe their lips, Mr. Speaker, the change of the color of their teeth, and also that smell, Mr. Speaker. It's called, with your indulgence, tobacco or glyco, as one of my colleagues has put it on. You could smell from far, and my grandmother used to use the hard one, the one that was being planted in the... And you know, in the past, Mr. Speaker, there was a lot of discipline. There was a certain age where people could consume alcohol, even in Samburu and other parts. It was only senior people with a particular age, and I know it's only Njurinjeke who are allowed to consume certain part of alcohol and even smoke the cigarette, Mr. Speaker. But unfortunately, everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry, is smoking nowadays. So, Mr. Speaker, I agree that decency and moral should go back to where we are, because it was only, and I remember when I was growing up, they could get that tobacco dried in the sun, then they do the stuff and they smoke it, Mr. Speaker. I can tell you the pungent smell that used to come, you could not even sleep or even get an oxygen around you. But with this e-cigarette, the challenge is simple. It is easy to carry, Mr. Speaker. It has various flavors. If it is strawberry or vanilla, you will not notice, Mr. Speaker. So I think it is important that labeling. On the issue of taxation, because I'll just make 4 points to seed ground for my colleagues to contribute on the same. I think taxation is very clear. I think Article 114 on money bills. I think this matter has been legislated or interpreted by the Supreme Court. I think there is nowhere in the law that says Senate cannot legislate on things that concern even taxation. Because under Article 210 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, the imposition of taxation says parliaments shall legislate. The reading of Article 93, the definition of parliament, Mr. Speaker, is the Senate and the National Assembly. And the principle of interpretation, Mr. Speaker, of constitutionalism and constitutional, according to one of my professors, Professor Mutaha Kangu, one of the leading lights of the drafters of the Constitution, is we must interpret the Constitution in a manner, in a cohesive manner. So you cannot tell us in Article 93, Article 210, that parliaments are legislate on the issue of taxation. Then you go back and try and argue under Article 114 on money bills, Mr. Speaker. So this issue of, I agree on periodic review of taxation, progressive taxation. Of course, we don't want a retrogressive taxation, Mr. Speaker. I agree that even in their amendments, we must, in issue of periodic review of taxation, we can always look at finance bill that we normally generate. On the issue of advertisement, Mr. Speaker, I think we should ban the issue of advertising these things, Mr. Speaker. Even during watershed period, I know some people would argue from 10 the children are asleep, but the children of nowadays don't sleep. They fast, Mr. Speaker. They don't sleep because of the nature of our, I don't know, Mr. Speaker, when we were young, we used to sleep by 6. And I was told by my high school teacher, the reason poor people have so many children is because they sleep early. And the only activity they engage, of course, the juries out there will understand. So I don't know, Mr. Speaker, with the current generation, there is television, there is Netflix, there is Amazon. People are watching, and this YouTube, the internet is available. So you cannot say by 10 p.m. these youngsters are asleep. They don't sleep, especially when the schools are closed. So I think we should propose either more stricter, limit the watershed period, maybe between midnight and 4 a.m. in the morning, so that, of course, the Kenyan time, but you cannot also prevent online advertising, Mr. Speaker, because when it is daytime now, it is night in America, or when it is night in America, it is daytime, and there is different time zoning. So I think we must be very strict, Mr. Speaker, in terms of advertisement, and also in terms, I remember on the NACADA, there were proposal on alcoholic control bill, Mr. Speaker. They said they needed to ban there were alcohol that were being sold with polythene bags and small. So I agree that we must limit the sale and the size of that e-cigarette, Mr. Speaker. And the issue of advertisement, I think we need to be careful. I know, Mr. Speaker, we need to balance raising of revenue. Maybe in Nairobi City County, the tobacco or individuals, Mr. Speaker, we are balancing between raising revenue. But I agree in the principle that you tax more luxuries over necessities. And that is why we tax more on alcohol, we tax more on cigarettes, because more are luxuries as opposed as necessities. Let us tax more the luxuries, like e-cigarettes and cigarettes generally, and alcohol, Mr. Speaker, so that we can give tax exemption to necessities like bread, unga, among other, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the third point I wanted to make is the issue of requirements. I think we agree with Senator Muma on the does not exceed 10 milligrams. I agree with this so that you don't, and the issue of health. I remember, Mr. Speaker, when the cigarettes, they used to have a prominent warning before 2007, and I think now, Mr. Speaker, even alcohol. I remember when we were growing up, there was a general, and I want to, free of charge, Mr. Speaker, this is a free advice, to owners of companies and even advertisement agencies, be simple. They used to see before when I say, taska baada ya kazi, with a lot of indulgence, Mr. Speaker. It was a simple, but it encouraged, Mr. Speaker, and it finished a lot of challenges. Even there was another advert in Kiswahili that was used about family planning. Familia bora, jamii bora. Let us use things that is easy to sell. So even I find it weird, Mr. Speaker, when you get some of these cigarettes, the warning they are put it so small that you might need a kaleidoscope or a very magnifying glass to read some of those statements. It should be mandatory that selling and warning should be prominent, Mr. Speaker. And I hope I have seen in a number of removable sticker and many others. Mr. Speaker, number 4, I disagree that cabinet secretary have been given sweeping powers, and that is clause number 14C. I think giving one individual, Mr. Speaker, those sweeping powers for approval of sale or manufacture of e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, is giving that cabinet secretary concerned a lot of powers. I think what we should push for is the NACADA as a board to be given powers to approve and sell, manufacture, Mr. Speaker, and also so that NACADA should be given this power of approval, Senator, distinguished Senator Muma, that NACADA should be given opportunity to market. Let us not give powers to cabinet secretaries. You know, Mr. Speaker, I think in the principle of French Revolution, they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if you give one cabinet secretary, imagine a cabinet secretary who is too religious, he might decline in approving. And you know, we have even cults like Shakaola and many others. I've seen another one where I'm told that the husband and the wife should not sleep on the same bed, Mr. Speaker, or they should not, the children should not be fed. So if you get a cabinet secretary, God forbid, who doesn't believe in smoking, what will happen? And you know, this is somebody's business. They are Kenyan. So let us not give cabinet secretary a lot of sweeping powers. Let us give it to the board so that it is subjected. Even when you are being declined license, you can appeal, Mr. Speaker. Also on this, even advertisement, an approval process, let us give it to the board called National Control Alcoholic Board, or even another board. There are so many boards that can do it. Even we can come up with a board where Ministry of Health, Cabinet Secretary nominates, NACADA nominates, counties nominates, so that we have a balance, Mr. Speaker, so that Mr. Speaker, I saw there were issue of banning products by Tanzanian government of Kenyan products, Mr. Speaker. I hope they will include also the issue of e-cigarettes and selling among East Africa, Mr. Speaker. While the principle of banning businesses is not good because it is not good, it violates the East Africa trade protocols because we need to encourage each other. We need to interdepend. And you saw President William Ruto and President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the elder of East Africa, having a conversation of trade. So what Tanzania did is quite unfortunate because we live, Mr. Speaker, I know of senior government officials for Tanzania who their children are schooling in Kenya. So if you start creating boundaries like colonials did, Mr. Speaker, you might need to ban even them from getting the schools. I think what they should have banned, Mr. Speaker, is to ban the ill-behaved activists who want to disrupt their peace. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of this is banning because the cabinet secretary, can we put a board? So that, you know, there is unfair competition in business. You remember, Mr. Speaker, I was in a primary campus then, and there was a lot of hue and cry. I know Senator Katuri might have been around then, Mr. Speaker, and there were accusations that members of parliament were being taken by an agency interested with violating the tobacco bill then. They were taken to Mombasa for retreat. And what came out was hue and cry. So we don't want, Mr. Speaker, to give it to one power so that they can abuse. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, is on the issue of advertisement, so that, Mr. Speaker, is on the issue of places. I'm happy that institutions of basic education, so teachers should be aware of this. I know there are a number of teachers who are accompanying students before us. Mr. Speaker, they should be aware. I know some of them might be smoking, Mr. Speaker. They should be aware that you cannot smoke in basic education training, places of worship, of course. Mr. Speaker, I don't think anyone would want to smoke in places of worship, unless that's a different place, because I know mosques and churches, people rarely smoke. The only smoke you are allowed is the smoke of Holy Spirit. Mr. Speaker, on hospitals, clinics, and other health institutions, I think it doesn't make sense, Mr. Speaker, to children's home, children care facility, children playgrounds, I agree. Mr. Speaker, what I found it weird is residential houses. So if the father and mother are smoking, what will happen to the children and they are living in the same room? How will we enforce that, Senator Muma? I think you will teach us. Or will the children be reporting that dad and mama are smoking and therefore, I don't know, it's a bit dicey to implement that one. I don't know what you are thinking around it. Maybe when you do reply, you can educate us. Because I know parents who maybe, in fact, Mr. Speaker, when you go to some family homes, they even have a cabinet. They have prepared a cabinet where they stock hard substances that is not milk or water or anything that is near there. On public service vehicles, Mr. Speaker, I agree. On police cells, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if there is anybody who smokes in police cells. I thought cigarettes are contraband because I used to chair JLAC and I was remanded in committee on a number of police stations. Mr. Speaker, I never saw it. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, allow me to support at that point. Thank you.
Before I call the next senator to take on the floor, allow me to make this communication. I'd like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting teachers and students from St. Mary Nyangwa Girls Secondary School in Embu County. The delegation comprises 60 students, and 4 teachers were in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming guests to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will call upon the Senator for Embu County under 1 minute to extend a word of welcome.
Thank you, Bwana Spika, kwa kunipa nafasi niweze kukaribisha shule ya ACK St. Mary's Nyangwa Girls kwa hii kikao. Yangu ni kusema wanafunzi mjifunze vizuri, kwa sababu hapa katika Senate unaona kama hapa upande hii kuko na msichana, hata kama ni mama ni senator na ambaye amesomea Embu County. Nataka nimhakikishie kama mtasoma vizuri, wakati mwingine ninyi mtakuwa maseneta na pia mtakuwa hata speaker na pia mtakuwa hata rais, lakini mkiweka mchezo hamtapata hizo vitu. Yangu tu ni kumkaribisha hapa. Mambo yetu katika Senate huwa tunaongea mambo ya devolution katika counties, vile pesa inakuja masinani. Kama wakati huyu maseneta wamepigania kaunti zote 47, tumepata bilioni 415. Ndio mambo ya masinani, mambo ya agriculture, mambo ya maji na pia vitu zingine iweze kuwa kule masinani. Mambo mengine huwa tunachangia hapa ni vile kama cabinet secretaries wakishindwa kufanya kazi, tunawaleta hapa, tunauliza counties kazi inafanyika namna gani. Kwa hivyo saa hii mmekuta mbilo ambaye inahusikana na mambo ya vitu kama sigara, vitu kama hizo iweze kuwa inalainishwa, na pia mambo mengine amkukuta ni mambo ya dawa ya kulevya na pangi. Mjiepushe hizo vitu, na mkijiepusha wakati mwingine ni nyinyi leaders wa kesho. Kwa hivyo ni karibu Bwana Speaker, unajua huko wakati mmoja wewe ulitembea huko ukiwa mgeni masuburi kwa ile Diocese of Mbeere. Ni asanti. Kwa hivyo mkirundi Embu County Diocese of Mbeere, mseme mmeingia pahali ambapo Speaker anafanya kazi na maseneta wale wengine. Pia Bwana Speaker, kwa dakika moja ningeomba hii senator aweze kuchangia tu, kwa sababu wale wachana wanafunzi waweze kuona ati hata hao wanaweza. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Mundigi, your request has been declined. Senator Tabitha Mutinda, you may take to the floor to contribute to the bill. While doing so, you may extend a word of welcome to the girls.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, my neighbor, Senator Mundigi, for the kind request. I also want to take this great opportunity to welcome you to this house. It's the upper house, the Senate. I'm a product of St. Anne's Girls Career in Embu County. I pursued my 4 years there. The English that I speak, the excellency that I have, is from the great county of Embu. It's a county that when it comes to matters of education, it's very top-notch. I wish you the best. I wish you excellence. I wish you God's guidance. Respect your teachers and enjoy your studies. God bless you. Mr. Speaker, allow me to start by really thanking our colleague, none other than Senator Catherine Muma, for this great bill, Mr. Speaker, the Tobacco Control Bill. It's a bill, Mr. Speaker, that where we are as a country is really going to change a lot if we correctly implement the changes that need to be implemented, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in Article 1 or 2 of this particular bill, the definition of smoking has really been well defined, Mr. Speaker. And it has also gone to part 2, where it has also talked about the tobacco products. Mr. Speaker, the sponsor of the bill, Senator Kathy, I realized when I went through this bill that our focus was more on the e-cigarette, away from the traditional cigarette, if I would call it like that, the cigarette that has been in the market, that has been there for years. And she's trying to ensure that we legislate correctly and put regulations as far as the e-cigarette is concerned, Mr. Speaker. E-cigarette, Mr. Speaker, in my view, is the synthetic nicotine that has gone through a manufacturing process and that is also smoked in a digital, fancy, classy, modern way by a big market share, and that is the young generation. Mr. Speaker, part 2 that says that synthetic nicotine formulations intended for use by smoking, inhalation, chewing. Part B has defined the e-cigarette, how it is put into the market. It is through chewing gums, it's through inhalation, sniffing, vaping, sucking, and it comes in forms of tubes, filters, Mr. Speaker, electronic delivery system, Mr. Speaker. And this is where the catch is, because with this kind of gadgets that are already in the market, that our young people are using, Mr. Speaker, you realize there is no regulation on these e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. They have flooded the market, they are already here, but they have no control. Anybody, even children as young as 10 years, have access to these particular cigarettes, have access and are able to easily, within their friendship circles, be able to show each other how to be able to use this, Mr. Speaker, which, Mr. Speaker, it has enhanced penetration of the product into the market massively with minimal control, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if this product is today allowed to continue the way it is, where it is today, Mr. Speaker, we will be allowing our children to continue accessing a product that not only affects them in the health manner, in terms of we know what cigarettes do or what nicotine does to the health system, it's very endangering. The sad part is that its accessibility to the young people is sort of 100% today as we speak. Mr. Speaker, as I looked at the bill, clause 2, part C, talks about characteristics of flavors. And the bill has defined and talked about the issue of flavors, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these products, when I've Googled them, I find that they have different flavors. For example, we have strawberry, we have vanilla, all those kind of sweet flavors. And these flavors are the ones that are bringing the desire, are also enhancing the young people to keep on purchasing these products, and also are making it difficult for the guardians and the parents to be able even to know if their kids are smoking. As compared to the old cigarette or the traditional cigarette, Mr. Speaker, if you smoke a traditional cigarette, definitely you can be able to have a feel of the air or smell of the air that this person was smoking something. But with the e-cigarette, because of the sweet flavors that are in place, it is very difficult for a parent or a guardian to even know if their kid has started indulging in this particular type of cigarette. And so in my view, Senator Kathy, this issue of flavor should be scrapped off. The e-cigarette should retain its traditional nicotine. The e-cigarette should have that original smell of the nicotine so that it becomes easy to be able to identify when these young people are smoking these products, or even those adults that are smoking, because we've seen adults who are also changing from the traditional nicotine to the e-cigarette, and it becomes sometimes difficult for even someone to be able to identify that this person is actually smoking anything. So the flavors, the bill should actually allow that these flavors should be no more, should not be actually allowed to be part of the product that is in the market, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I continue, there's the other issue of regulation. Today, as we speak, the traditional cigarette has regulations. The Act is very clear, actually. There is a ban that you cannot buy just one stick of the cigarette. You have to buy it in a full packet. It's never sold as a single stick. It is sold in a full packet. 2, it is not just sold anywhere. It is sold in a designated, like when we go to the supermarkets, you find that it is in just one area for above 18, where there is alcohol and cigarettes are put there. That's where they are actually secluded. They are put in a different place. These are some of the regulations that are in place. So the regulation for the e-cigarette should be a different regulation. There should be regulation in regards to the e-cigarette separate from the traditional cigarette. These regulations should be separated, because those years when we did the Tobacco Act, the e-cigarette was not in place. So we cannot assume and say the same regulations that are in place for the traditional cigarette should be the same that should be used for the e-cigarette that is in place, Mr. Speaker. So they have to have the synthetic nicotine and the traditional nicotine need to all have their own separate regulations, because they are different products. As much as the end product is nicotine, but the placement or the way the product has been packaged is very different. So it can't have similar regulations. Part 6, Mr. Speaker, Section 12 of this bill, Part A, Part B, talks about implementation of tax policies where appropriate, the prices, the policies, tobacco products, and all that. Mr. Speaker, when I looked at these 6A, 2, 3, and 1, talks about the issue of taxation. And I would prefer, or I would advise, my opinion would be that the issue of taxation be dealt with by Treasury. If room is opened in terms of the amount of nicotine milligram per milliliter, that there be different, taxations, then there might be corruption that might be brought, whereby the manufacturers might be able to indicate a lower milligram so that to pay lesser taxation, but in the real sense, probably it is on a higher level. So when it comes to the issue of taxation of the policies and all that of the e-cigarette, let National Treasury be able also to guide with the same guidance that they have also done as far as the alcohol products are concerned. Because of course there is a way, there is a policy that is in place currently. Definitely is a policy in regards to the traditional nicotine. So as far as this e-cigarette, let it not be so separate from how things should be, or how National Treasury has been doing and advising as far as the issue of taxation is concerned, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I continue to read the bill, I came across the issue of the product approval and testing, Mr. Speaker. And the mover of the bill, Senator Cathy, talked about that Ministry of Health does the approval, the testing, and all that. But in my view, Mr. Speaker, the testing of nicotine, the standardization should be done by the Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, Mr. Speaker, because they are the ones who have the machinery, they are the ones who have the technical know-how, who have the skills, who have the personnel to be able to guide when it comes to the issue of the standard of the e-cigarette, Mr. Speaker. Then there is the other point when it comes to approval by the ministry. That is okay, Senator Kathy, that would make sense because after the standards have been done by KEBS, who are mandated to guide in terms of the standards, then that should now be approved by the ministry. The ministry now will be left with the issue of just approval, but not with the issue of testing, Mr. Speaker. And further to that, I saw on, this part is which one, Mr. Speaker? It's, I saw a 50% of the amount that is going to be paid for either testing or approval. Yes, Part 4. Part 4 ADA, 50% of the fees paid for testing and approval for products under Section 14E. Now, in my view, Mr. Speaker, today we have budget for the Tobacco Board that is provided for by the National Treasury, and not in small amounts, billions, Mr. Speaker. And this money, or this fund, is used to for awareness and all those kind of things, and we really do not see much happening. And from where we are, we know the disadvantages of smoking, we know the disadvantages of tobacco, we know the health issues that come also with smoking, Mr. Speaker. What am I trying to say? Mr. Speaker, the 50% that the sponsor has suggested, that is the fee that is being paid for testing or approval, now, an amendment should be which suggests that this 50% can be added to SHA as a health insurance fund, but narrowing it to the cases of either lung cancer and things like that, that the diseases that are brought about by smoking, Mr. Speaker. This fund will be able to help that the people who, become sick, get the effects of smoking and all that, this fund can be able to help them in their health, whatever sector, instead of this money again be given to the board for them to keep on doing an awareness that we don't even no longer see. We don't even know what they really are doing. Because even when the e-cigarette came into the market, we've not seen the tobacco board do anything. We've not seen them come out, talk about it. They've not seen them giving guidance to the young people as far as the effects of this tobacco is concerned, Mr. Speaker. So this 50% should be added to SHA so as to be able to help as far as the funding for the health insurance is concerned, Mr. Speaker. The other thing I noticed, Mr. Speaker, is on the nicotine volume levels. Yes, Part 14B. A person shall not manufacture or place on the market nicotine pouches unless nicotine content of pouch does not exceed 10 milligram and such. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the mover on this because 10 milligram per milliliter of nicotine is a small amount. But when this amount is more, it's a lot, then it will make the smoker be able to, inhale more, and actually by the end of the day will have inhaled a lot than maybe he or she intended to. But when it is at 10 milligram per milliliter of nicotine, then it is a lesser amount. The cost, of course, will be high, because the manufacturers will have to package it at that 10 mg. And then, so the cost of production will also be high. But who are we taking care? We are taking care the end user. So the cost is higher. So you find that the purchase will also be minimized. Unlike when it is more, when it is 20 and above, you'll find that the cost definitely will be minimal, Mr. Speaker. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, the regulations as far as the pouches are concerned. The pouches that are being used should not be disposable, because disposable products will be easy to find in the market. The cost of a disposable material is less, so it makes the product even lesser. But non-disposable are expensive. So the higher the cost of this particular product, the lesser the accessibility to market. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of hawking, the issue of online sales, the issue of advertisement. As we speak today, the Tobacco Act is very clear that tobacco should not be advertised. It's against the law. So what makes it different with the e-cigarette, which still has nicotine? It should not be advertised. There should not be online sales. There should not be hawking of this particular product, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, we will not be sorting the problem. We will be encouraging the young people easy access for this product, online delivery and all that, Mr. Speaker, for this particular product. It should be restricted the same way the traditional cigarette right now as we speak is very restricted. The smoking areas, Mr. Speaker, I've seen, she has stipulated very well. We don't smoke in the public, churches, even here in this particular chamber. It doesn't happen. There are designated places and areas. The same should apply. Because we see on the road, you're walking in the streets of this beautiful country, the capital city of Nairobi, the one that I represent, Mr. Speaker. And you see someone removing a small, beautiful, nice gadget that looks like a lip gloss for us ladies. Someone sniffs something, puts it back, and just what you just sing on the air, Mr. Speaker. It is smoke that is just left on the air. So the areas for smoking should be adhered to, should be designated as required. And so I think with those many few remarks, I hope I haven't... yes, let me finalize on the issue of NACADA. I agree with what Senator Cheryl Guy spoke about in terms of NACADA. All these things should not be left to the Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health has a lot to do. We have the issues of share that are happening. We have the killings that are happening in Kenyatta National Hospitals, which we are totally condemning, and many other things that the Ministry of Health, as we speak today, is trying to streamline, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, I had a statement trying to question whereby we have the county staff still working in their private clinics. Yet they should be in this public hospital, and they are paying their salary. So that work should be some responsibilities, some duties should be done by NACADA board. They should be there to be able to assist in terms of ensuring that these policies are implemented. I know this bill coming from the Senate, there are county issues whereby the county offices should be able to have offices that help in the licensing. That is also revenue to the counties, and also it narrows down as far as at the county level is concerned. With those many and few, Mr. Speaker, I fully support and congratulate Senator Kathy for this great bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next is Senator William Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise and support this particular amendment bill, tobacco control bill by Senator Muma. Honorable Speaker, I know you and myself are not, we have never smoked, my dear. We are not smokers, maybe something else. I just wanted to say that, you know, in the past, 80s, 70s, when we were very young children, 80s when we were in primary school and high school, and even in the university days, Honorable Speaker, you know, smoking was, actually, it was almost like not there. You would see one or two people smoking. When we were in primary school, even in high school, even our teachers who used to smoke, you would never see them smoking. Maybe in the staff room or whatever. But I don't know what has happened of late, Honorable Speaker, that this thing has become almost fashionable for people to smoke, and especially this new one now called e-cigarette, Honorable Speaker, which is endangering the lives of our youth, Honorable Speaker. You know, the regulations that are already there in place is for the traditional cigarette that we used to see. There were two companies within the country that used to manufacture cigarettes before we got the imported ones, Honorable Speaker, and regulations were put in place to ensure. We want to thank that particular member of parliament, Honorable Speaker, who came up with that particular law where designated smoking areas are put across. You go to CBD, you'll see 2 or 3 places designated for smoking. You can't see just people smoking on the streets. There used to be a lot of cigarette filters all over the towns and cities in this country before that law came into effect, Honorable Speaker. So this particular law then is coming now to regulate the e-cigarette that has not been regulated, Honorable Speaker, and especially in terms of selling. I agree with my colleague that, Senator Muma has now come in to redefine, to give a proper definition of smoking and many others, especially in the advent of this e-cigarette, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I know it's not easy to, legislate morals, but there is a way that we can legislate at least to reduce or to minimize the use of these products, Honorable Speaker. If you check, Honorable Speaker, on clause 4, where my colleagues have said 50% of the fees for testing should be put in a particular fund, even if it is share, so it can go into the critical illness, Honorable Speaker, or even prevention. We should not just target to say these particular funds or resources, when we get them, it should not target just strictly those with diseases related to smoking, but we should also target it to other areas. Look at the NACADA. We're talking about NACADA, Honorable Speaker. NACADA was formed to sort out issues with drug abuse, with cigarettes. But if you go across our towns, especially in the villages, Honorable Speaker, you will see mushrooming of sale of second generation of alcohol across the country. I was very surprised this last Sunday, Honorable Speaker. We had to destroy a lot of crates and bottles of Janga and second generation alcohol. This is just pure, even Honorable Speaker, that should not be in the market, Honorable Speaker. So these particular resources should be channeled to ensure that basically those associated, we can support share in this particular area by giving them resources, so that those who come up with chronic diseases related to this, either alcohol or cigarette and e-cigarette, Honorable Speaker, should be assisted, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to discuss clause 4C, Honorable Speaker, clause 14C. A person's, just hold on, Mr. Speaker, there is something that I saw here that catches my eye, Honorable Speaker, that we need to look at it. Sit clause 6, Honorable Speaker, clause 14J, Honorable Speaker of the bill, that a person shall not produce or supply tobacco products containing vitamins or additives that create the impression that a tobacco product has an health benefit or presents reduced health risk. Honorable Speaker, these are the additives that the flavors of the e-cigarette. These manufacturers, they put in some sweet additives to attract the youth, to attract the smokers, to say, it's nice. It feels nice to smoke and inhale this particular. So this, we should completely ban any additives that will be put, any flavors that will be put in the e-cigarettes and even the other cigarettes, so that the smoker knows this is the original flavor, this is how this thing is, and they should know the dangers that are involved with this particular e-cigarette, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we also, online, when you go to online sales, there is no particular restriction on age. When they advertise, it's not sold to the people below 18 years. But, Honorable Speaker, when the youth buy these things online. There is nowhere in the application where age is indicated. So we need to ensure when online applications are developed to sell either alcohol or cigarettes and e-cigarettes, there should be a mandatory age field so that if both age and ID, so that if somebody doesn't have an ID or below 18 years, the system should not allow them to procure these things online, Honorable Speaker, because this is where the danger is. I know currently, in the current status, alcohol and cigarettes are sold maybe in supermarkets in a restricted area, and the shops are not open until maybe 10 a.m. after around 11 p.m. But also, we need to ensure that these cigarettes, as colleagues have said, we can push the time, especially in terms of advertisements, maybe during the watershed period, which you said maybe 10 to around 6 in the morning. We can push it to midnight, to around 4, because as it's been alluded in this particular house, Honorable Speaker, the youth now don't sleep like ourselves. The way we used to sleep by 8 or 9, then you wake up at 5 or 6. They sleep late. They are online all the time, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this watershed period should be reviewed so that, Honorable Speaker, these particular adverts are done within the times that we believe everybody is asleep, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, clause 15 of the bill, subsection 33 of the Principal Act is amended by, Honorable Speaker, the areas, the mover of the bill, or the sponsor of the bill, Honorable Speaker, has given us the areas where e-cigarettes will not be smoked, Honorable Speaker, and this is right. Number 1, institutions of basic education and training, places of worship, hospitals, clinics, and other areas, children's homes, child care facilities, residential houses, and other premises where children are cared for. So this is at the moment, this is where it is tricky. You know, so residential areas, as colleagues have said, you know, there are parents who are smokers. So how will we enforce this particular clause? You need to relook at this and maybe reward it, because maybe if people are smoking and they smoke at home, you don't know, there is no one to police them. It's the choice. You know, it's the right. You know, the people also have their own rights, Honorable Speaker. Public service vehicles, which I believe this one has been enforced on the traditional cigarettes, public passenger vehicles, school buses, vans, commercial passenger vehicles, commuter boats, varies, and the others. Police cells. I think we should also bring here, I've seen prisons also. I know prisons is there. Smoking is prohibited in the following areas except in designated areas. Maybe this is because of maybe the employees, but I believe prisoners, while in prison, the right to smoke, they may not have that right, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a progressive bill. We need to support it. And while supporting it, we need to find a way of increasing the capacity or building capacity for NACADA, because NACADA has been here for a long time, but the effects, we still have a lot of issues with addiction, both alcohol, both cigarettes, and even drugs, Honorable Speaker. You go across all our towns in the country, Madam Honorable Speaker, the consumption of alcohol, the abuse of alcohol is very high, Honorable Speaker. That's why we are saying NACADA need to build capacity. They need to have officers across, even up to constituency level. I don't know, it's like at the current moment, they're only at the county level. And they are not able to assist our youth because, maybe because of resources. But I believe with the passage of this bill, they should be able to get additional resources, build capacity, employ more youth, because we have a big problem of unemployment. So basically, we need to use, we can even use volunteers, Honorable Speaker, and apart from that, they also need NACADA, in conjunction with the county governments, set up rehabilitation centers across all our county headquarters, both for male and women, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on regulations, I also agree with my colleagues that we should not give